of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Martin. Here. Councilor Armand Mercier.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Here.
9 present.
Okay, we have a couple of presentations before we begin the formal agenda. The first is a citation to present to the New England Riptide for winning the first Calls Cup National Championship. I have a citation I'd like to read. I know we have Joe and Laurie Aldman from the New England Riptide with us tonight, and if I could just read the citation. Hereby known to all, the City of Lowell, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that we honor the New England Riptide Women's National Pro Fast Pitch Softball Team that plays here in the City of Lowell for outstanding achievement in athletics and for winning their first Cowles Cup in the National Championship. The New England Riptide is Lowell's local team playing the NPE League of 8 and 10 teams across the country. The entire City of Lowell congratulates and commends the team members, coaches Sharon Drysdale, Jennifer Finley, and Erin Gottlicher, and Larry Gilotti, and co-owners Joe and Laurie Aldman for their hard work and dedication to the sport of softball. We wish them well, continued success, and hope they can repeat next year. Congratulations. I know.
This is the Coles Cup right here. And we'll, as soon as A-League puts our name right here, we'll bring it back here and display it downstairs for everyone to see. I want to thank everyone, City Council, the mayor, manager, for all they've done over the past years to make this possible. Without the city's support, we could not have done this. And I want to thank all the fans who have supported us and come to the games, particularly the ones who made that drive down to Connecticut to watch us play the semifinals and the finals. And we felt more like the home team than the home team that was there, especially during the championship night. You know, a championship is really the effort of the players, management, the fans, and the city. And so this really belongs to all of us. And thank you again.
Thank you. Have to show the hat on the camera before I take it off. The next item we have is a proclamation for Lowell Recycles Day, which is actually part of a national day to commemorate recycling. And we have our recycling coordinator, Gunther Wallenstein, with us, who I think can come forward and tell us a little bit about National Recycles Day, and I'll just briefly try to quickly read the citation. Whereas the decision we make concerning recycling and resource consumption every day are critical in determining our quality of life, economic viability for generations to come, and the city has a rich history of being the forefront of industrial change through the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, the technology boom in the 20th century, a history which is the source of our vitality today and our promise for the future. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts can again look to Lowell as a leader in industrial change that is necessary for its economic and physical health. To date, in calendar year 2006, Lowell has collected more than 2,500 tons of recyclables in the process, diverting this material from incineration, saving more than $300,000 in disposal costs. With the help of our schools, residents, business community, nonprofits, Lowell endeavors to eliminate even more recyclables from the waste stream. And whereas waste reduction and the efficient use of our natural economic resources is critical to a sustainable way of life, and whereas recycling is fundamental to waste reduction, the America Recycles Day campaign has encouraged recycling activities throughout the United States since 1977. Now, therefore, I, William F. Martin, Jr., Mayor of the city, do hereby proclaim the day of November 15, 2006 as Lowell Recycles Day in the city of Lowell, Massachusetts, to coordinate with America Recycles Day. Gunther.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, and councilors. Our Recycling Day downstairs is a display that's been up all week and will continue through the end of the week. Tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. we'll have displays, a variety of vendors involved in recycling in the city. Some of the nonprofits and schools will also be represented. We invite everybody to come down and fill out a pledge card. You pledge that you do your best to recycle at home and in school and in your business, and that pledge card will be mailed to Mass DEP, will be combined with the rest of the state, sent to Washington, where there'll be a national drawing for a cruise to Alaska and bicycles. So it's worth the effort to come down and see our vendors and interactive displays and be included in Lowell Recycles Day. Also, I wanted to make a couple of mentions about our progress here in the city. As you know, the city spends about $6.5 million a year to collect, transport, and dispose of municipal solid waste. Right now, through the curbside recycling, which includes the appliances, TVs, and so forth, we only collect 13% of what is recyclable in our waste stream. That 13% can be improved because, according to EPA estimates, there are about 40% in municipal waste of paper, another 23% in glass, plastic. So we really should be doing better than 13%. Every percent we improve is a savings of $53,000 in transport and disposal costs. So we're hoping that everybody will get together, get a green bin, put it out at curbside. The green bins are available here at City Hall in my office, room 34, and also at the Public Works, 1365 Middlesex Street. Just sign one out, take it home. You'll get a flyer which includes what you should put into your recycling bin, what does not belong in the recycling bin. So that's great. One of the other issues is yard waste. Last November, the city collected 1,300 tons of biodegradable material, diverting it from landfills and incineration. And in order to simplify the process, we asked the residents put the yard waste out on the regular garbage day in a brown lawn and leaf bag or a labeled garbage bag, and those labels can be acquired at, again, DPW or here in City Hall, so that we can remove those tonnage from the solid waste. The other note I wanted to make here is that a grant that we applied for this fall has finally come back from Mass DEP, and the city will receive about $14,000 in solid waste material, which will include, I have a list here, 40,000 consumer education mailers. So every resident and business will get a card mailed to them about what the city is doing for recycling and waste reduction. We'll also get 65 compost bins for sale so that biodegradable material can be collected and composted at home. 50 rain barrels. Again, rain barrels will collect rainwater, can be used for gardening, and that reduces our expenses. We also will receive water conservation kits, so you can attach it to your faucet, you can attach it to your garden hose, and 52 kitchen scrap for home composting scrap buckets. All of these items will be available in the recycling office, and we hope that people take advantage of the services that we have in our office.
Thank you, Gunther. Councilor Elliott.
Is that information available on the website? Is there a recycling link?
Yes, the website, anybody can visit, easy to find, lowellrecycle.org. And if I may give my office phone number, 978-446-7277. Feel free to to call me for these items. And there's quite a bit of information on the website.
Thank you. Just one more. Is there a fee, is there a cost to get the bins, or are
Right
they
now,
free of charge?
there is no cost for these bins. Sign one out. We allow one bin per family, per unit, and that is for single-family, multifamily, up to and including 6 residences.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks for all your hard work on this, Gunther. It's very important. It's not only the right thing to do, but it directly impacts our bottom line here in the city. So we encourage you to continue with your efforts and promote this event, America Recycles Day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, at this point, our guests are welcome to stay, but feel free to leave. You don't have to stay with us the full meeting. We're going to move to the formal council agenda. The first item would be minutes from the November 7th meeting for acceptance and approval. Motion to approve the minutes by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under the city manager's portion of the agenda, there are communications concerning responses to council motions and requests. Any questions? Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the communications from the Office of the City Manager was regarding televised subcommittee meetings, and it was suggested that we refer this communication about televised subcommittee meetings to the Rules Subcommittee to establish setting an established time for televising the meetings. That's what I would make as a suggestion, to refer this communication from the manager to our Rules Subcommittee.
Motion by Councilor Rita Mercier to refer the communication to the Rules Subcommittee for report and recommendation.
Right.
Seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the Rules Subcommittee. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, under the city manager portion of the agenda, there is a memo from the city manager indicating that there was a motion made by Councilor Milonazo requesting the city manager have the police department place the speed monitor display on Andover Street. Even though I'd love to take credit for that, it was not me, it was Councilor Ramirez. So I just want to let the record show that it was Councilor Ramirez that asked for that.
Thank you. Any other questions concerning manager communications? Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I just a couple of points I just want to address. One of the communications I sent to you in the packet this week is a response to a motion by Councilor Ramirez regarding the issue of residential recycling, and we just had recycling coordinator speak to this, as well as a motion by Councilor Elliott regarding the cost of removal of solid waste and the fees and policies for the minimum number of dwelling units requiring dumpsters. I just wanted to reiterate much of what recycling coordinator spoke to, and the importance of recycling to our community in terms of the environment, but also certainly to the issue of the bottom line, that each 1% of trash or solid waste that's diverted from the incinerator results in a savings of about $53,000 for the city of Lowell. And I think that's a significant number at any point in time, but particularly given our current financial condition. So there are a number of recommendations that are included within this report that was put together by a task force that I organized, and we will be coming forward over the course of the next month with a number of these recommendations on ordinance changes and policy issues for the council to adopt, and the administrative actions will be undertaken pretty much over the same time frame. Certainly one issue that we are looking at and we are putting in place is a recycling initiative for the Lowell municipal buildings. We've put a press release on your desks essentially indicating that I've announced an initiative mandating that all city offices participate in recycling. Certainly one of the larger contributors to solid waste in any community is the municipality. And I think we need to really take the leadership role in showing that we're doing our part to reduce the amount of solid waste going into the waste stream. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. The other issue that I just want to touch upon is another piece of communication that I put on your desks tonight that was prepared by the CFO, Tom Moses, the
It's labeled Budget Discussion, and it outlines a number of issues that we discussed at the last council meeting regarding the impact of the 1% departmental cuts. In fact, we've cut more than 1% in the budgets. We've gone a little bit deeper. 1% represents about $775,000. We've actually identified to date $839,000. In addition, we have another $397,000 that we've cut from various fixed cost items. So total, we're almost at $1.25 million that we've cut out of the budget that you adopted back in June. And in fact, I understand you already made a number of cuts in the budget that was submitted to you at that time. Also included in this packet of information, and I won't go through all the specifics of it, are some information regarding the average tax bills, one-time revenues, and some analysis regarding the issues of what $1 million in cuts means to the city. For if we were to make $1 million, for every $1 million in cuts beyond what we've already made, we're looking at, and these are across the board types of cuts, that we'd be looking at 12 police officers, 8 firefighters, 4 DPW workers, 2 health code inspectors, 2 water employees, 2 parks employees, 4 employees from other departments, funding for 1 special event, and $110,000 in services, supplies, and equipment. Keep in mind that we have to make this these cuts. We might cut $1 million. We've only got 6 months to make that up, and that's why those numbers are as large as they are. But these are sizable reductions in a workforce that's already experienced a reduction over time, and some very difficult situations. There was also a question raised as to what impact, if we could make that extra $1 million in cuts, what that would have in terms of savings to the average single-family home tax bill. That would reduce that by $45. So if we cut another $1 million, we would save the average household $45, but we'd be experiencing those types of very serious cuts in our services. So we're continuing to look for other ways of reducing the budget, reducing our costs. I did enter into an agreement today for the purchase of electricity, about a 20% savings in the rate that we'll be paying. We're doing some analysis now as to our usage to determine what that actually means for us on a budgetary basis. But we also entered into an agreement several weeks ago for natural gas that will also result in some savings. And again, we're doing some analysis to determine what it means again, on a budgetary basis. We know that it's saving us money, but we have to make sure that we budgeted enough to start with. And that's been a problem that we've identified early on in this process. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about this that councilors may have. You may want to take this and digest it, and then take it up at the next Finance Subcommittee meeting. Hopefully have a meeting next week at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Elliott?
I was going to suggest that this report be referred, pardon me, to the Finance Subcommittee for full discussion on, and it really is a follow-up for 2 weeks ago when we did ask you to prepare these documents. So I'd like to make that in the
second.
Okay, motion by Councilor
excuse me.
Elliott to refer this document to the Finance Subcommittee, seconded by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the Finance Subcommittee. Other questions under the manager's communications? Okay, hearing none, motion to accept the communications and place on file by Councilor Ramirez, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matters are accepted. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just while we're on finances and communications, Mr. Manager, one item we did ask you to look into when you were meeting with bond counsel was the stabilization fund. Can you bring that information to this Finance Subcommittee? Because there was a concern that, if we have $4 million, the state requires that we keep 2.5, and is it prudent or is not prudent to tap into that? So as part of the Finance Subcommittee, and I know that was one last piece that we did ask for. I know we received a report based on the mayor's request about free cash. There was a report that's part of the discussion, and where we are with free cash. So I think that's part of the discussion that should be added.
Mr. Manager?
We'll get that information to the Finance Subcommittee. A couple of points on that. I think to give some analysis of the impact on our bond rate, on our bond rating, I think the best bit of information is the most recent credit analysis or credit report by Moody's. We're also going to be meeting with our financial advisors this week that will be able to provide some guidance in that area. We did do an analysis of what a decrease or an increase in our interest rate would result, what type of cost implications, and we'll have that for the for Finance Subcommittee as well, showing what would happen if we experienced another downturn in our rating, looking at an 1/8 or 1/4% interest rate increase that would come about as a result of that. In terms of the free cash, I think there's 2 points that I want to touch upon. One is that what we provided to the council in the packet is an analysis or some information that responded to a question that the mayor raised at the last council meeting, the last subcommittee meeting last week, as to basically what happened to our free cash that we thought was going to be there. Last December, last fiscal year, the council was advised that free cash didn't come in as high as expected for a number of reasons, but once that money that came, most of it being grant money or other monies that were due to the city, once that money came in, then on June 30th you would have free cash. As the memo from the CFO indicates, what basically happened was that the council last December on 2 occasions, the city on 2 occasions last December went to the Department of Revenue and had the free cash recertified. Basically what that means is halfway through the fiscal year, the city went and asked that some of the money that was collected during that fiscal year be made available for use in that fiscal year. Very rare that the Department of Revenue does it. They did do it on 2 occasions for the city last year in order to allow the council to take the necessary actions that made it possible for you to set the tax rate, those 3 meetings that you had to have last December. What that means is you basically took an advance on your free cash in doing so. Otherwise, that money would have been there on June 30th. So that's about $2.8 or $2.9 million that you would have had on June 30th, but you used it in December. As far as this year's free cash, the budget information I've given you indicates $500,000. We're now working with the Department of Revenue. It's the top priority for the interim auditor to work with the Department of Revenue because there are some questions raised, in fact, as to whether the city even has $500,000 in free cash. The paperwork that was submitted by the retiring auditor has there's some additional information needed, and there's some questions that have been raised by the Department of Revenue, and so we'll be working with them to try to get that money there.
Hey, can I just follow up on that?
Councilor Elliott.
It's probably a discussion that'll take place next week, but when I did read that, that's what I thought took place, and that was not my understanding when we voted to use that money last year. You can do that? I didn't know you could take an advance on future year free cash.
It's allowable. And once in a while, the Department of Revenue allows it once. This is the only time I've ever heard of it happening twice in 1 year. I talked to the Department of Revenue, too, to make sure that it was not a mistake, and they, too, said it's highly unusual, but they did, in fact, allow it. Okay, well, thank you for the memo, Mr. Moses. That was somewhat of I thought that was my understanding, but that was not my understanding when we voted these last year. I thought they were, just deficits that the state was allowing us to cover in some of these revenue funds, and the communication back and forth was they were allowing certain deficits to be covered, certain reimbursables that had exceeded the deadline to be used in that fiscal year, and not by any stretch that we were using advances on free cash. So
I'm sure we'll follow up this in the next finance subcommittee. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question, because I'm kind of stunned by that answer. I too thought it was a vote to basically transfer money because the DOR had changed the rules on us, and that we were just transferring money to be able to cover what wasn't allowed, and that we didn't have short-term financing lined up for unreimbursed other funds that didn't come in. That's not the case?
Well, I wasn't here, but I'm going to guess that, in fact, that may have been somewhat the case, but I don't know if it was made entirely clear to the council what you were doing in order to make that happen. That, in fact, you were getting your free cash recertified. It wasn't just a case that they were allowing you to do something a little different. In fact, it's a process that you go and you document that there's money that's come in of some sort, and you get to count that in that fiscal year as opposed to waiting for the closeout of the fiscal year that you're in.
So, I guess to follow up with that is then, what account was the money taken out of from, and where was it taken out of, I guess?
Where was this taken? I'm not sure if we have a...
This is really an appropriation from free cash. You appropriated it during the budget process about $1.4 million that was certified at the end of the year. The Department of Revenue made available this additional $2.8 million, and you appropriated that from free cash, which is essentially your fund balance, your reserves.
Okay, so we basically transferred it out of our, whatever we were carrying for a balance of free cash into last year's free cash to cover?
The manager was correct. It really amounts to an advance on free cash that would have been certified as of July 1st, 2006.
So it was free cash that we were carrying that would have been applicable this year?
Yes.
But we already took it last year?
Yes.
So, okay, without actually understanding that or knowing that, okay. Thank you. Excuse me, and now we're finding out that the auditor, the retired auditor's submittal for the free cash is incorrect or not accurate?
There are some problems with some of the numbers that we're trying to iron out.
Do we have an idea as to ballpark? Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
Thank you.
Councilor Donahue?
But let me guess, the problem isn't in our favor.
No.
We're not going to get more free cash, right?
I'd be very surprised.
This goes back to part of the confusion we had last December. I mean, we were confused coming in here, and it wasn't clear at all why we had to come in 3 times in order to do this. We were given a variety of explanations. But my clear recollection was, and again, it is what it is, but was that it had to do with funds that hadn't been collected, but that we would have more free cash, not less, come July 1st. Now that's, the opposite was true. So it was like we took an advance on our credit card, but as Councilor Elliott said, but it better be an American Express that you got to pay off all at once. Right. So, at least, let me just put it, at least, one of the things that's been a puzzlement, for the past couple of months is, where did the $3 million, and now it may be $3.5 million, where did it go? It made no sense to me that it was in the budget and then poof, it just disappeared, because although our free cash has been reducing over the past years because of cuts from, the state, at one time we had a lot of free cash, and then it shrunk just like it did for lots of communities. We never went down to zero, and so that just didn't make any sense to me. Now it's coming into focus, I guess, is that, yeah, if you borrowed against it, then you're not going to have it 6 months. And so now we have to fill the gap, that and some. So exactly. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not to belabor this new issue, but this council and councils of the past, managers of the past, have utilized free cash frequently to offset any tax increases. In 2003, 2004, as you know, Mr. Manager, communities like Lowell and the suburbs were cut drastically with local aid. We utilized the free cash. It was an escape valve for us. The councilors used free cash for transfers to the school department, etc. We're going to point a finger. We can point a finger at everyone. And let's move on and address this fiscal issue that's before us now, and try to bring everything together, and let's just move on. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Councilor, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to point a finger at anyone. I just want the council to fully understand the situation and why the city is, because I think it's important that the council understands and the public understands why, when they read in the paper, when they watch these meetings and hear our fiscal condition described, I'm sure they shake their heads in puzzlement as to what happened. And I think it's important that we explain what happened and that we take the appropriate actions to set the right course from here on out. Again, I'm not trying to point fingers. All I'm trying to do is give clear understanding to everyone as to what has happened and what needs to be done moving forward.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. I think it's important that we all do move forward, but I also think it's important that we understand that this was not just allocating free cash to square up a budget. This was taking an advance on the free cash, which affects us this year. So it's a little different than in years past when councils and managers in the past have used free cash. I don't recall them using free cash in the future to fund the budget. I think that's the difference here. But I agree, move forward, but we need to have the understanding, and the public deserves an answer as to why we're in the situation we're in. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
I agree, we are moving forward, but I think I need to belabor the issue, because essentially what we did is we started the year with a negative net free cash balance because we borrowed against this year, yet in the budget there was 3 million, 3.5, excuse me, that we factored in as a revenue source. So, and that was absolutely not what we were told in those December meetings. So I just want to be clear that I've never heard of borrowing free cash for the next year. I've never heard it. I've never seen it, and it really makes no sense to me at all whatsoever. So when I did see this memo, I was really taken aback and wanted a clarification that we borrowed next year to pay last year's fiscal budget. That is not sound fiscal management. I never would have voted for that, knowing that it was against next year. Who knew if we were going to get? So we're starting essentially with zero. We started with absolutely zero based upon those advances on future free cash. Okay, we didn't know that until today, so this is new news again. I just want the people at home and the public to know that we continue to work our way through this to move forward to address the budget issues, but this is not another surprise, if you will.
Councilor Donahue?
Well, I mean, we have always used free cash to offset the budget. There's no question or any dispute about that, whether it's wise or not. We do, because you don't want to raise taxes, but you need the money to do it with, which we don't. But it seems to me that the tax increase should have happened last year, because we didn't have the money then. I mean, and so when we didn't have the money, that's when when we set the rate, if we had the information, then the taxes would have gone up, because we didn't even have the free cash that we were applying at that point, right?
That's correct.
Right. Okay. Hearing nothing further, we move to the public hearings. There are 3 matters for public hearing offered by National Grid. One for a pole location on Industrial Ave, second for a conduit on Industrial Ave, and a third for a pole location on Canoyle Street. We'll open the public hearing for those wishing to speak in favor. Anybody wishing to speak in favor, if we could just have your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Dave Aguirre, and I'm representing National Grid. And National Grid tonight is asking for permission to install a pole on Industrial Avenue. This pole will help serve the Jarvis Dodge used car lot that's there. And also, there'll be conduit going from that pole onto the private property of Jarvis Dodge, or Jarvis used car lot.
Okay. And one on Canoyle Street, too?
Oh, yeah. And the pole, we'd like to ask permission to install one pole on Canoyle Street, and that would be to serve a new home at the end of number 21. That will serve number 21 Canoyle Street.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Anybody here in opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Just refer it to the wire
Motion to
inspector.
refer to the wire inspector by Councilor Rita Mercier, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Matters are referred to the wire inspector. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask the gentleman a question?
Yes, Councilor Armin Mercier.
Is it my understanding that there'll be a replacement for you at these council meetings in the future?
We're going to share the duties.
You're going to share it?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that young man sitting back there going to
Yes,
be
he
one
is.
of them?
Yes, yes.
I just wanted you to introduce him to the rest of the council.
My name is Eddie Stott. I'm a new employee for National Grid, and I'll be sharing the duties with Mr. Aguilar to let you know the new spots for poles in Lowell.
Mr. Stott is related to me, and I wanted to be introduced because he come out of Iraq, he come out of the service, and he got a job with the National Grid. And so I'm very proud of him.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Council.
Your prior training will come in good
That's cute.
good use here, so
You wish he was back in the bunker.
welcome. The next item is a vote on renewal community tax credits. I have I think a client who's impacted potentially by one of these, so I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. Councilor Milanazzo, I've asked to assume the chair. Councilor Milanazzo.
Which is, the renewal community.
Okay, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council vote, approving the application for allocation of commercial revitalization deduction, CID-IRS Code, Section 14001 of Mill City Properties, Eli P. Sue, Michael DeLuca, Lowell Cooperative Bank, Earth Realty, and Fortune Lowell LLC. Whereas the City Council voted on February 5th, 2002 to accept the designation of the City of Lowell is a renewal community by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, and whereas a renewal community is eligible to approve a commercial revitalization deduction allocation, CRDA, and whereas the City Council voted on December 17th, 2002 to approve a commercial revitalization deducted allocation plan and authorize the submission of said plan to the Massachusetts Economic Development Assistance Coordinating Council for its approval, which approval was received on December 20th, 2002, and whereas the Community Renewal Tax Relief Act of 2000 authorizes special tax incentives for businesses which are located in and invest within the boundaries of the renewal community, and whereas the applicant's projects are located within the boundaries of the renewal community and they have applied for an allocation of commercial revitalization deductions, Internal Revenue Code 14001, under the Renewal Community Program and the CRDA plan in the total amount of $8,087,451 for the redevelopment of the following properties: 30 Gorham Street, 115 Chelmsford Street, 194 Middle Street, 15 Hurd Street, 491 Dutton Street, 672 Suffolk Street, and whereas the redevelopment project as proposed will result in the creation of approximately 94 new permanent full-time jobs available to residents in the renewal community, and whereas the City of Lowell must approve the CRD applications to submit these applications to the Massachusetts Economic Assistance Coordinating Council for final allocation. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the City Council of the City of Lowell approves the application for the allocation of commercial revitalization deductions, IRS Code 14001, of Mill City Properties, 30 Gorham Street, Eli P. Sue, 115 Chelmsford Street, Michael DeLuca, 194 Middle Street, Lowell Cooperative Bank, 15 Hurd Street, Earth Realty, 491 Dutton Street, Fortune Lowell LLC, 672 Suffolk Street. Be it further voted that the city manager, on behalf of the city of Lowell and acting through the Division of Planning and Development, hereby is authorized and directed to take the necessary actions to fully implement the planning and execution of various projects program pursuant to and in conformity with the Commercial Revitalization Deduction Allocation Plan, and the city manager is further authorized to execute on behalf of the city of Lowell any and all documents as may be required in connection with the aforesaid application. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council vote approving the application for allocation of commercial revitalization deduction, CRD-IRS Code, Section 14001 of Mill City Properties, Eli P. Sue, Michael DeLuca, Lowell Cooperative Bank, Earth Realty, and Fortune Lowell LLC. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion's been made. Second. Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin. Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 absent.
Thank you, Councilor Milonazo. Next item on the agenda is an order designating the pavilion area in the rear of North Common Park in the city of Lowell as Kakavas Family Pavilion in honor of the Kakavas family. Whereas the city is desirous of honoring the Kakavas family, now therefore it is ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell that the pavilion area in the rear of the North Common Park in the city of Lowell is hereby designated the Kakavas Family Pavilion in honor of the Kakavas family. Second reading by title, in order designating the pavilion area in the rear of the North Common Park in the city of Lowell, Kakavas Family Pavilion in honor of the Kakavas family. Councilor Armand Mercia.
I move approval, and I would like to say a few words about the Kakavas family.
Go right ahead.
First of all, I want to thank the council, the city manager, and the city solicitor's office for expediting this. As I indicated at a previous meeting, the Kakavas family has contributed greatly to this city of ours, both in the armed forces and in the acre, and they've just been a great, great family. And they selected a place in front of the Greek church that would really honor the family for their contribution to the city. So I want to thank everybody for expediting it. As you know, I indicated there's a health issue involved here, and the sooner this gets done, I think the better it will be for the family. So I want to thank you very much. It's quite an honor to honor them because in fact, George is the person that was installed in the Hall of Fame, the Sportsman's Hall of Fame, Lowell High, as a wrestler. So I really urge my councilors to approve this and approve it tonight.
Thank you. Motion to approve by Councilor Armand
Second.
Mercia, second by Councilor Rita Mercia. Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, matters approved. Next item is a vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D. The City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability and make expenditures in excess of available appropriation for snow and ice removal in the current fiscal year, whereas the City of Lowell totally encumbered the line item for services for snow and ice removal appropriation for fiscal year 2007, whereas it is anticipated that additional snow and ice removal services will be required in this fiscal year, and whereas the approval of expenditures in excess of available appropriations for snow and ice removal by the city manager and the city council is required under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D, and whereas the city manager has approved such expenditures. Now, therefore, it is voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows, that pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 43, Section 31D, the City Council of the City of Lowell hereby approves expenditures for snow and ice removal in excess of the available appropriation for such purpose during the current fiscal year. Be it further voted that said expenditures shall be certified to the Board of Assessors and included in the next annual tax rate. Second reading by title, a vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 31D. The City Council of the City of Lowell consents to incur liability and make expenditures in excess of the available appropriation for snow and ice removal in the current fiscal year. Questions? Roll call.
Counselor Milonazo?
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez?
Yes.
Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Counselor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Donahue?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Vote is approved. Subcommittee reports. Counselor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This isn't really a subcommittee report, but as the chairman of the university subcommittee, I did want to inform those of you here that the university invited a number of us to attend a meeting today with the search committee for the new chancellor, and the mayor was there as part of the committee, and Councilor Mercia was there, and we were all asked to give our opinions as to what kind of chancellor would best lead the university here in the city. It was well attended, and a lot of comments, very positive ones, were made. The committee, as you know, is charged with making a recommendation of 4 finalists to the president of UMass Amherst, and who will make the final decision, but I thought it was important to note. Thank you.
Thank you. A motion to accept the report as a report of
I'm
progress.
sorry, Councilor Donahue was also there.
Okay. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next subcommittee report, Councilor Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a meeting last evening of the joint school building issue subcommittee with the members of the school building subcommittee of the City Council as well as the school department. It took place over at the school department primarily because a presentation was being made by the architect and the project manager on the 2 new proposed schools. This has to do with what I'll refer to as the old Butler School, but is now being known as the Sapasara School, the site on Gorham Street, as well as the Morey School. This is an update, but I just want to bring the council, without going through, it was a lengthy meeting. One of the concerns, as the council may recall, this project, these 2 new proposed schools, bring to a close the 3rd phase of the school building program that started many years ago, and it would update and modernize all of the schools in Lowell. In terms of student enrollment. The Morey School will be built on the current site and around the current school, which presents a number of challenges. And then the old Butler School is a renovation as well as new construction around that particular site. I know my colleagues are well aware of the financial burdens that we're looking at. Going back to July of 2001, when this was originally submitted to the state for a 90-10 reimbursement, the cost to the city would have been approximately $2,600,000. That has grown. We had an update last summer where the cost to the city was estimated to be about $12,711. And now we're talking about a cost to the city for these 2 projects. And again, these are estimates of $19,476,000. So you can see over the past 5 years, we've gone from a little over $2.5 million to $19.5 million. So the problem is that the state's 90% reimbursement doesn't change. In other words, what they were going to reimburse, that figure is locked in the 2001 figure, so that the actual cost to the city has increased. That's the bad news. If there's good news, the good news is that the formulas that the state is using in order to, for what the city can do to bond, and without getting into a whole lot of detail, has changed, and so the actual out-of-pocket to the city on an annual basis isn't as great as it would have been under the old regulations. That said, where we stand now is the architect and the project manager, Watermark, who's the project manager for the city, have been going through trying to come up with realistic cost estimates. There have been some design changes, all with an eye toward saving money, particularly with the Maury. There have been some cost-saving attempts made so that when this project goes out to bid, which they expect will be sometime in January of 2007, it won't be a situation that you try and make design changes after the project has been bid. The Butler School and Sapasara School, again, as I said, there are a number of challenges because it is a historic renovation. We are in a position where we cannot tear down that building. It is protected on a historic site register. And the architects were questioned as to the viability of that building because many people have said, myself included, is this, it's been abandoned for so many years, it looks like it's in such tough shape, is it even salvageable? And we were told last night that it actually is structurally sound, believe it or not. It needs a lot of work, but it's structurally sound, and the design is attractive in that it's adding 2 other buildings alongside it. We also were told last night that the parking lot that we thought would be donated to the city, which is a necessary component of this particular project, has been sold. And so we now may be looking at a potential eminent domain, which was not in the original plans or proposal. And so that's something that we'll have to find out about, or find out if there's another way around that problem. One of the problems is that we're very far down the road, 75% or better toward finalizing the documents to go to bid. And as time goes by, as we see, costs just get greater. And so it's kind of short notice to try and redesign the project when we were dependent on that as part of the cornerstone. So there were a number of recommendations made by way of motion last night by the joint subcommittees, and which included, all right, I'm not going to pull out all the papers, but anyway, which included asking for information from the manager and from the superintendent of schools. Hold on. And that included, as far as the Butler School, we asked to look for alternate sites, if need be, to replace that school. Ask whether the state will allow us to convert money if we decide to go with 1 school versus 2. Can that money be converted to the 1 school? What's our bonding capacity? And the manager is going to report back to the subcommittee. In other words, there are certain schools that we may be hitting the end of the line in terms of payments. Are we going to have more bonding capacity as we consider this particular undertaking? There's also regarding new rates and regulations of the school building program. And hang on, we had so many other. Also asking, to explore other alternatives for that parking lot, if we kept that same site. And those would include, I guess, an update from the law department if we had to go the eminent domain route. Do we have time? Where do we stand? Could it be a friendly taking? Apparently this was just sold in recent months, even though, again, it was the understanding it was going to be donated to the city. So all of those are information that have some, time sensitiveness to come back to the subcommittees. When we look at a $19 million plus commitment by the city, especially now in this economic climate, it's daunting, and yet at the same time, the 3 schools that are affected, in other words, the Maury is replacing an existing school that is in very tough shape. The proposed Sapasara School on the old Butler School site, even though there's a projected decline in enrollment, 3 existing schools would, or the population of those would go into that school. Those three schools are very old. The Moody School, which I think was built in the 1860s, the Varnum School, and the Washington School. All very antiquated schools. And so the city is in a situation that these schools will have to be replaced. And this whole process that we have been engaging in, again, started in 2001. By the time these schools are built, if we were to go forward, you're talking almost 10 years in terms of getting them underway. So, but before the city's in a position to do anything, we have a number of questions. And I think our experience, knowing how schools are very costly, that the subcommittees are trying to proceed with caution, get as much information up front, make as many changes up front that we can. And we won't know until the bids come back in terms of what the costs are for both schools. And I don't think the council can be in a position to make any decisions or recommendations until that happens. But in preparation, there are a whole lot of steps and a whole lot of information that we have to get. So it was a very informative meeting, and I just think something that, as we consider all the other financial obligations out there of the city, it's, again, another important one that I just wanted to bring everybody up to date. I know other members of the subcommittee, Councilor Elliott was present. I know Councilor Caulfield, who's a member very involved in the subcommittee, was unable to attend due to his wife's illness, but it has been, as we all have been, watching the issues and the money issues. So if either member wants to speak, I yield the floor.
Councilor Elliott.
Just briefly, Councilor Donahue really recapped a long meeting that took place last night. But I just want to reiterate her point that, since 2001, when we embarked on, the last two schools of the entire school building program, it was a 90-10 reimbursement from the state. And since that time, the costs continue to go up. And unfortunately, the state's not contributing any more money. Back in 2001, it was 23.5. And today, the same number remains that we're going to get back from the state. Costs have increased by $19.5 million. It's a staggering amount. So we are faced with some difficult, decisions. Do we build one? Can we afford two? The manager will get back to us on, how much is coming off, because every year money does come off. But what can we afford, to put back on? We don't want to lose reimbursement from the state. But that grant conversion program, where if we don't build two, we can flip the money on, that we're not going to use to the one school, if that is the decision. But, at this point, it'd be a 54% reimbursement that we'd be receiving from the state based upon the increase in cost. So, as Councilor Donahue mentioned, a lot of questions that we still have to answer before we proceed. And now we have a land acquisition issue with the Butler School that is not reimbursed by the state. So, an additional hurdle that we have to face. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I called Councilor Donahue at home last night and let him know I could not make it, and I would support any recommendation that the subcommittee brought back. Mr. Manager, when we took a tour of the city, I indicated to you there could be a problem, a financial problem, with these two schools. And from what I hear, what I see, there is. And you just right now got to tighten the belt on everything we do. And we built $250 million worth of schools in this city, $250 million, and there's not another community in this country that can state that. So I think we've been extremely upfront with the educational programs in our city, but if this cost has risen that drastically, we're going to have to take a long, hard look at it and be very careful how we appropriate.
Thank you. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was a very detailed subcommittee report. But as a follow-up to the report, can we get a clarification on what exactly happened with that parking lot as it relates to the Sapasara School? Did we actually just have a promise to donate, or was it actually a letter of intent? I've heard, different versions of what we actually did have. So as part of your report, Mr. Manager, if you could get us a clarification on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rita Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As well as the fact is the parking lot to that Butler/Sapasara school on the side street, or were we talking about the parking lot across the street?
The parking lot that was part of the plan was adjacent to the site. It actually was required for access, the bus access and turnaround under the design. And that's how the architects proceeded in terms of designing the site. It's a very tight site by standards. It's 3 acres or maybe even a little under. And so for a school this size, normally it would be very difficult to put it on that site. But it was approved by the school building program, but bus access and turnaround was required so that's, it will be, we have to explore all alternatives. Is it possible to find some other, and again, we're very far down the road on the design and ready to go out to bid, so can we find something else that can quickly be redesigned? It would require an eminent domain no matter what way we go. We don't own any other property out there. Or is this so integral that everything we've done so far, you have to scrap the school? So we don't know. We just have to find out answers to some of these questions. It just recently came to our attention. Everybody was proceeding under the expectation that the land was under city control or would be.
And I'd just like to know this as well. There were, I believe, 7 trailer trucks many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that were outside in the parking lot. And we kind of discussed that, and I made a motion if we could find out how much we paid per truck to store things in it, like we had desks in it from other schools and things. And since the school was empty, I thought maybe we could empty everything out of the trailer trucks, put them in the school, so we could save all that money that we're leasing all these trucks. And that actually happened. So I'm wondering, do we still have a desk load of chairs and tables and everything in that building? Do we?
I think it is used for storage. I'm not sure,
Storage.
but I think it is used for storage.
It is.
Certain parts of it, anyway. Okay.
And there's no money from the state, from the SBAB for reimbursement. There's no such thing anymore as 90/10.
There is. Maybe I didn't explain it clearly. There is, but when you submit and get a project certified, as far as what the state will pay, and that was in 2001, that's when their 90% reimbursement was locked in.
They cap it off.
But the problem is the cost kept rolling, and so now we're approaching a 50-50, really, in possibly.
They reimbursed 90% of the 2001 cost.
That's right. I get it. I hear you.
Same across the state.
Okay. Just for a clarification, that's what I want.
Okay. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Further subcommittee reports? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a finance subcommittee meeting this evening. We addressed 3 items that have been referred to that subcommittee. The first one were fees associated with closing the budget gap. That was referred from last week's meeting. The recommendation from the subcommittee, after a discussion of the almost 36 pages of fees that the city has, that we have under our jurisdiction, rather than go through individual recommendations that may be supported by some councilors and not by others, it has to go to a public hearing anyway. We had a full discussion on all the fees. Members did express some concerns on those fees, and the recommendation is to bring the entire ordinance before the council, recommend for public hearing, a full discussion publicly here, and any adjustments, deletions, changes that any member may had should be discussed in the public, and just take the vote right here. So that is the motion to recommend that it does go to a public hearing on November 28th. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk? So that's the first item that was on the agenda.
Motion to refer the proposed fee increase ordinance to a public hearing on November 28th by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? matters set for a public hearing November 28th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second item that was referred, this was back in July, August timeframe, was we received a memo recently from the city solicitor, and that was for the leasing of 15 spaces in Couple Square public parking lot. The manager has recommended that we proceed with this with this 3-year lease. It'll derive approximately almost $22,000 in revenue. This is an area, it's a piece of property on Pine Street up in Couple Square that there is no parking. The previous owner had a similar agreement with the city to lease spaces in the back of on the back of Westford Street, I believe, behind the commercial area. They're vacant during the day. This would provide parking needed, residential and commercial, for this piece of property in Couple Square. Recommendation from the subcommittee is to proceed and approve this lease, and to address two issues. One is there's no parking for that building, and number two, it does bring additional revenue into the city. So, excuse me, that's the recommendation from the Finance Subcommittee to adopt the motion and proceed with the lease.
Okay, so I believe this matter was read once when it was first referred to the subcommittee, so we have the second reading on the vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to enter into a lease agreement with Robert Chassereg of 36 Fayette Street, Arlington, for property located 2 Leroy Street, Lowell, for a term not to exceed 3 years. Motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Caulfield?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a subcommittee report to offer as well.
Okay, we had 3 items, so when we take this vote, let Councilor Elliott conclude, and then we'll... Any other questions on this matter? Roll call.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's just one other item that the Finance Subcommittee had been meeting regularly, and we received a communication from the city solicitor indicating that the expiration of the tow contract, a two-year contract, would expire this year, December 31st, and that they were sending out notification for a request for information to go through the public bidding process again. The manager indicated that while the RFI will in large part stay the same, the number of zones is going to be reduced from 6 to 4. Lieutenant Meehan and the police department felt that 6 were not needed, with 1 alternate. So there are 5 companies that will be selected. And in large part, the city will go out for a public bidding process, and companies will submit not only qualifications, but a dollar figure that they are willing to give back to the city with an administrative fee that will increase from $10 to $20. The increase in the administrative fee will go to the person who owns the vehicle. However, the balance, whatever that dollar figure that the tow company chooses to give back to the city to be selected as a tow company, goes back to the general fund as a source of revenue. So that has already gone out, and 2 weeks time frame for prospective applicants to submit the application. The difference this year is the manager or the manager is reserving the right to negotiate a better bid, a better dollar figure for the city should the bids come in at if there's a large disparity. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manager or City Solicitor, it's a little confusing. We will have a public process. They can submit their bid. This is how much I want to give back to the city. If we have one bid up here that's high, the city reserves the right with other bidders to negotiate. They can either bring their bid up, or we can move on to another bidder. Is that right, Madam Solicitor? Okay. So that was it was really just a report of progress, Mr. Mayor. That's the process. It's an open and public process, and that's how it's going to work again this year.
Okay. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Further subcommittee reports, Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's quite a lengthy report. It's the Control Sewer Overflow Subcommittee report held Wednesday, November 8th at 4 p.m. In attendance is Councilor Kevin Broderick, Councilor James Milanazzo. Councilor Ramirez could not make it because of a schedule conflict. Also in attendance was City Manager Bernie Lynch, Assistant City Manager T.J. McCarthy, Mark Young and Mike Stewart from the wastewater facility, Miles Johnson, Jim Drake, and John Harper from CDM, which stands for Camp Dresser McKee, and also residents from Wentworth Avenue. The presentation by Mark Young was absolutely excellent and extremely informative. And Councilor Milanazzo and I asked for Mark Young, Mr. Manager, to make that presentation to the entire City Council and the viewing audience at home to see where the money is being spent and the accomplishments that is being done. 6th Ave and Emory Ave, the total cost is $7 million, but these are the number of streets that have been improved by the installation of these storm drains, and they're 6 feet in diameter. 84% of the mainline pipe is installed. They didn't start that until June. The project is ahead of schedule, and the following streets that are going to benefit by this is 6th Ave, Emory Ave, Bodwell, White Street, Spark Street, Martin Street, Gershom Avenue, Sarah Avenue, Drake Street, and Riverside Street. Also, UMass Lowell contributed $725,000 to the cost because the construction and the installation is going to benefit the university, excuse me, as well. As I indicated, the storm drain lines are 6 feet in diameter, and what they did as these lines entered the river, I'm going to show you this valve, and picture this, a 6 foot in diameter valve. This is just a minute example. The valve will open for the water to enter the river, but the river can no longer go back into the storm drain and flood out the neighborhood. And they're going to install this in various interceptors throughout the city that will benefit neighborhoods like the Rosemont neighborhood. Very expensive, as we all know. The bond, I believe we had taken out of $65 million. The cost to 6th Ave and Emory Ave is $7 million. The next project would be Chancellor Street, the Wellman Street drainage area, Gorham Street and Wheat Street drainage area, $11 million for that. But if everyone would see this presentation by Mark Young, as Councilor Milanazzo and everyone who attended that meeting, and Councilor Broderick, would also assess that it was excellent, excellent. And the 6th Ave and Emory Ave intersection, under the past conditions with torrential rain, there could have been as much as a foot of water, 2 feet of water in that intersection, and there's not an ounce of water in that intersection now, Mr. Mayor. It's, the lines are working extremely well. Councilor Milanazzo brought forward a motion, seconded by me, requesting the city to address the flooding at Wentworth Avenue. That's near the nursing home. The residents from Wentworth Avenue were there. They pleaded for immediate help, and they do need help, Mr. Manager. And it was also recommended that the city bring forward any stop measures that they could. Also, to contact the town of Tewksbury to live up to their responsibilities. It's a culvert that the town of Tewksbury is responsible for, and they're not addressing that. There's also some beaver dams in that area that wastewater is going to address, and address that as well. I just like to go through this report here that we received from wastewater. The next sewer separation project will be Gorham and Chancellor Street, Part 1. Gorham Street, Part 1 will be the Wheat Street drainage area. Chancellor Street will be the Wellman Street area. includes 60 inches of drain on Chancellor Street and new sewers for Newell and Wellman Street. The project is 22,000 feet of new sewer drain pipe. That cost is $11 million. EPA and DEP, the agencies, are extremely happy with our progress. And the contractor, I think it's Ballstock contractor, who did the contracting work on Emory and 6th Ave, the residents are praising this contract. He's absolutely excellent. Just a brief summary on the schedule. 6 and Emory will be finished in the middle of 2007. Then Project 1 Phase Gorham and Chelmsford, which will be $14 million, will go into the 2009. Phase 2 Gorham, there's $10 million that will go into 2010. Project 3 Phase 2 Chancellor Street will go into 2011. The Chancellor Street drainage area is probably, as Mark Young indicated, the largest drainage area under one continuous drainage pipe, and it's going to be costly and lengthy and so forth. But if everyone could see this presentation by Mark Young on wastewater, it's very informative, and the people will know the cost, what is the accomplishments of this project. It has to be done. EPA says we have to do it. Manchester, Nashua, Lawrence and Haverhill are going through the same thing, but I think, Mr. Manager, Lowell is a step up on everyone. And I'm proud of the work that was done at 6th Ave and Emory, and all the residents in that Pawtuckaville neighborhood are extremely happy, especially the people in the Rosemont section where the flood in May, that river came right back up and flooded them out. But this new storm drain, that can't happen. And what we're doing is we're diverting millions of gallons of water from going to the waste treatment plant. That water now is going directly into the Merrimack River. And Councilor Milanazzo, if you want to add anything to that report, and Councilor Broderick, please feel free to do so.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank
Councilor
you.
Milanazzo, I'm sorry, you're on the subcommittee, right?
No, I was just going to say, Councilor Caulfield, as chairman of the subcommittee, really did cover all that was put forward. I would hope on a short-term basis, however, that wastewater through Mark Young and Mike Stewart can help the residents of the Wentworth Avenue neighborhood. I think that they're going to get right on their issues right away to help them in the short term.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had 3 issues of concern that came up in the meeting that I'm hoping that we can continue to meet now that the progress is ongoing. But essentially, the 3 areas where the capacity of the plant was mentioned, that it's 30 million gallons per day, and we're essentially at 32 million gallons per day on a dry day, upwards of 140 or so on a storm. And the concern that I had was that he mentioned that the surrounding towns are only at about 50% of the capacity, and that we have what he called an I&I, an inflow and infiltration issue in the city, citywide, which is basically it's seeping into the sewage pipes and being sent to the plant, which could be upwards of 30%, but it's also going to be another cost to capture that water and deal with it. So concern I had was, if we're maxing out now, what's going to happen? I know we're going to separate some and send it off, but it's also, as the towns grow, it's something that I think we also need to be aware of and try and come up with a plan to address. And another issue was we have the contract with CDM for the complete design of the Warren Street phase. I know there's some scheduled work and very expensive work and extensive work, but I just wanted to be certain that we're on track, or they're on track to fulfill their contract. I think it's March of '07, so that we know that we have what we need to complete our side. If there's a holdup or there's an issue, it's on the city side, not because we didn't follow up on the contract with CDM. And the other issue, as it was mentioned, is that there's definitely going to be a phase 2. And if we could get an update, what does that mean? If we're going to have to start separating more, or hopefully it's not going to be something in the lines of another plant or addition to the plant for increased capacity. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Every time we fulfill our obligations to a neighborhood or a project, As I indicated, 6th Ave and Emory Ave, Mr. Mayor, millions of gallons of water are being diverted now to the river. So we're going to cut down that problem at the waste treatment plant immensely. The city of Lowell is putting 350 million gallons of wastewater in the river a year. That has to stop. And EPA said we have to stop it. DEP said we have to stop it. But the next project is going to cut more water going into that treatment plant. And I understand what you're saying, Council, but as long as we can continue to separate the stormwater from the sewer lines, that's going to drastically get down. And I also want to indicate every interceptor is now computerized. So if there is a problem at the plant, the employees don't have to go to the interceptor to open up the gate. They can do it to a computer. So that's a huge step in our direction.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you. And I agree, there's been tremendous upgrades and work, and it should be more efficient. But what I was referring to is the I&I is more, it's runoff and things such as sump pumps and irrigation systems and things that are coming off of private property and ways in means of capturing that, and who's going to pay for it, and how we're going to do that. Aside from, it's going to get, as we capture more and more, the problem with the CSO, I think it's going to get more expensive as we get down to getting another 2%, another 4%. So, but I was referring to capturing the water runoff or groundwater from private land more so than from the CSO problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to make a recommendation here this evening. I know that some of us attend subcommittee meetings and we're privileged to get information amongst our subcommittee people. And I find that sometimes the rest of us that didn't attend this particular subcommittee meeting didn't get anything. Such is the case today with the subcommittee, for example, that Councilor Caulfield talks about combined sewer overflow, which I'm very interested in that, but I was unable to attend that meeting. I would like to have had a copy of what you're talking about there. So why I say that, nothing towards you, Councilor, that's not what I'm meaning. I'm seeing this a lot at different subcommittees meetings where we're getting information and my colleagues aren't. So I'm asking through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, you're going to meet with your department heads tomorrow, and if you see Mark Young, we would like a copy of that. I mean, I would. I can't speak for anybody else. For example, if I'm having a subcommittee on parks and I'm talking about something, I think I should have enough copies that my colleagues that weren't able to make it can understand where we are with this. I found Councilor Caulfield's paper reading about what's going on there. I think that's very interesting. I'd like to know a little bit more. He didn't read the whole thing or talk about everything, and I'd be interested to hear more about it. So if we could think about each other with that respect, okay? Not so much my colleagues, but it's the people that are addressing us, like whatever department comes before the subcommittee, they should have enough really for nine people. That's my suggestion, that's all.
Okay. It's a good one. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor, you probably don't have this in the color form, but I made sure Mark Young inserted this in a black and white form in everyone's packet. So you do have this. It's not.
Oh, we got it 2 weeks ago.
It's not in a color form like this, but you have the identical thing that I have in my hand. All right? So, and you brought out a good point. Everyone should have that information. That's why I insisted that it was put in the packet. This is going to be extremely expensive, as we all know, but we just can't let our citizens, like the people on Wentworth Avenue and 6th Ave, suffer through this flooding and this backup, and we don't have a choice. EPA and DEP says we have to fix it. The federal government says we're not going to help you. So that's why we're digging in and doing a good job. And Mark Young and the staff, they just deserve a lot of credit for their dedication.
Thank you. Motion to adopt the recommendation of the subcommittee, and the report is a report of progress by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Milanazzo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The recommendations are adopted and the report is adopted. Any further subcommittee reports? Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Earlier this evening, we had a meeting of the Auditor Clerk Oversight Subcommittee to address the plans for interviewing and hiring a new auditor. And the recommendation to come forward is that the council would each pick their top 5 selections, up to 5 selections, and the top 3 vote getters would get interviews. If there's a tie for third, whether it's 2 or 3, we would add that on, so there's a possibility of 4, potentially 5. The selections would be due this Friday by 2 p.m. in the clerk's office. The interviews are scheduled to be televised, of course, on Wednesday, November 29th starting at 5:30 p.m. And we scheduled a special meeting for December 5th, the following Tuesday at 6 p.m. for a vote to hopefully appoint a new auditor. And that, I think that pretty much wraps it up. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Motion to adopt the report and recommendations of the Audit Subcommittee by Councilor Rita Mercier, seconded by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report and recommendations are adopted. Any further subcommittee reports? Okay. Under petitions, we have 2 petitions from National Grid, one for a pole location in Ina Street and the other in Smith Street. These matters get referred to a public hearing on November 28th. So moved by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Those petitions are referred to a public hearing on November 28th. Under the motions, first motion is by Councilor Milanazzo. The City Council requests the City Manager have the proper department address the large dip in the road on East Merrimack Street. Second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When you drive over this large dip in the road, it speaks for itself. Assistant City Manager T.J. McCarthy agreed to meet me there so I can show him exactly what I'm talking about. So I will make arrangements to meet with Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dips are in the road all over. I know that dip. I know also the washboard up in the top of Andover to Nesmith Street. I don't know where we're going with it, but if I didn't say anything to remind you again, the people that own a business at the corner of Bed and Breakfast who are losing their residents because of the fact that trailer trucks deliver at night and go up there, and if the light happens to be green and they're going straight up, it just jostles people out of bed, so they're not staying there and they're losing business. And I don't know where we're going with it, but there's a lot of dips. I know that dip as well. I didn't refer to you, though, Jim. I'm only kidding. I know this dip. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the City Manager have the proper department install a crosswalk at Boylston Street at Hollis Street near the Bunting Club. Second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. School committee member John Leahy called me about this issue, and he claims, and I believe him, that there were youngsters getting out of the Joseph Pine School, walking across that busy intersection. There's no sidewalks there, Mr. Manager, and it's not ADA approved. But if we could do something just to alleviate a hazard for these children, traversing back and forth from Boylston Street to Hollis Street, it's right on the Bunting Club area, so it's a dangerous situation. But if you can do something, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, to the councilor, I'll, if I could, come back to you or the council with a report on these conditions there and some recommendations.
Right. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? Motion's approved. Next motion is mine. Any objection for me reading it from here? Motion's City Council. Actually, this is for the City Council requests the City Manager, the Law Department prepare a proper vote for the City of Lowell to become a sister city with Bryansk, Russia. These folks from Bryansk were here last week. Oh, I'm sorry, second by Councilor Elliott. They were here at the meeting last week. They've been in Lowell this week as guests of Middlesex Community College as part of an exchange program that the college has, which hopefully will result in Middlesex students having the opportunity to travel to Russia. I put it on as a motion because I wanted council to approve this. I know in the past we've had some proclamations that approve sister city relationships. By placing as a vote, for one thing, we create a permanent record of it, and I will endeavor to search the records and report back to the council on other cities we have these relationships with. I know, and maybe some of you individually who've been mayors want to speak, but I know there are several. Councilor Rita Mercier had one with a similarly named city, and the Ukraine. I believe Councilor Donahue had Kilkenny, Ireland. And there may well be others. We have the city from France that Dachau established a relationship with 30-some-odd years ago, I think. So that's the reason for the motion. If we could get a vote tonight, like we could send these folks back to Russia with some sort of certificate. They are, I believe, leaving town on Thursday.
Still here?
Yes.
So moved.
So
Roll call.
motion approved by Councilor Rita Mercier, seconded by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved.
I would volunteer to go when you send the delegation to Russia.
I'll help them carry
Okay.
the proclamation.
You may regret that, Councilor. Motion to adjourn by
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.